I'll call the meeting to order. It was properly posted on February 14th. Is there a motion to approve the minutes on January 19th?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Items 4 through 31 are the consent docket items.
Move the consent docket.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Item 32 is a resolution to transfer general fund appropriations to Juvenile Justice Bureau in the amount of $11,430 operation to capital. It's necessary to purchase Wi-Fi antenna equipment.
Close this item. I think this is money they've already got.
It's within their budget, yes.
I'll second.
Any other consideration, questions? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
33 is an item that I've requested to also move money within my budget from travel to operation. I would move it.
I highly second it.
Thank you.
Hey, shut up.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Danny, monthly report.
Good morning.
Morning, Danny.
All right, the slides you're going to see up on the screen, they're a little bit different than what you see on the monthly report. We put them in a PowerPoint, so you're welcome to follow along. But I'm going to start with page 3 if you're looking at the actual report. Otherwise, you can look up on the screen. Page 3 is a look at our general fund as of the end of January. To date, we've collected $66.4 million in revenue in general fund. That's 81.9% of what we budgeted for the year. It's exactly the same percentage we had collected through January of last year. So right on track with where we should be this year. The next page is page number 5. And we're still looking at general fund. This is a comparison from January this year to last. To date, we have collected $1,879,000 more in revenue than the same time last year. That was to be expected. We actually budgeted $2.6 million more for a 3.4% increase. Expenditures today are down in our current budget $4.9 million over the same time last year. So overall, we've seen an increase in cash balance. End of January, we're up $7.2 million. That's about a 32% increase in cash balance over the same time last year. Reason being, revenues are up, expenditures are down. All right. Page 11 is our employee benefits fund. To date, medical claims, prescription claims paid out compared to last year through January is $2.7 million. That's a 26% increase. Factoring in those numbers, just projecting out the rest of the year with January's numbers, we're estimating we're going to end the year with a deficit of $3.1 million. But we have February's numbers, so when we plug February's numbers into that projection, that number, the deficit comes down to $2.7 million. Speaking with John Wilkerson this morning, we have some pending stop-loss reimbursements in the tune of almost $400,000. That is not factored into this, so if we get that money in, that lowers our deficit even more. Right now we're looking at possibly about $2.3 million deficit based on February's numbers and the fact that we're going to get some more stop-loss reimbursement back. If you look at March through June of last year, as I pointed out to you last month, the second half of last year's fiscal year was $1 million less than the first half of last year in employee benefits. So far with January and February's claims, it's trending the same way. January was the lowest claims month we've had this year, and February wasn't too far behind that. So it's looking good. We're trending that way again this year. So if you just plug in March through June's numbers from last year into this projection, that lowers that deficit even further. So we're looking at a $1.6 million deficit. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but the picture is looking a little brighter if we trend the way we did last year and we trend the way we have the last couple months. With that being said, we're still going to come up short. BET discussed this on Tuesday. Going into March, we have expenses just for the month of March at almost $2.2 million. It's estimated, again, depends on how medical claims play out in the month of March. We're only going to have about $1.3 million in appropriations to cover March. So we're about $928,000 short just to get through the month of March. So you're going to see a recommendation from BET later on this agenda to go ahead and transfer $1 million over now. We can cover all the expenses through the month of March, and then we'll look at it again next month at BET and kind of track it that way going forward. We have $2 million on the watch list. We're recommending $1 million right now. Again, this all depends on medical and prescription claims, how they play out. You know, with our averages through January, we're at a $3.1 million deficit. We hope that's not the case.
Questions of Danny? Not, is there a motion to receive the report?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you, sir. John, our health update?
Good morning. I just passed out a sheet for everyone that looks like this. I'm going to just touch on briefly two things. On the first page, it covers our claims, or goes over our claims of $50,000 or more, or members that have had claims of $50,000 or more. And I want to compare last fiscal year to this fiscal year, just to kind of give you an update and show you what's driving our claims increases for this year. This fiscal year versus last fiscal year, we've had a total of $1.3 million more in claims that were $50,000 or more. So that's a big increase. So $1.3 million more in actual paid claims that were $50,000 or more in total. Then on the third line down, this is the big indicator. We've had a lot of big claimants this year, a lot of high dollar claimants. For those claimants last year, we paid $4.2 million to date. This year we paid $5.6 million. So those stop loss claimants, those 35 claimants, have incurred $1.4 million more this fiscal year than last. So they've made up 40% of our claim costs for the entire year. If you flip to the second page, kind of show you something hopefully that will make the rest of the fiscal year better. This is the utilization indicators. This is showing where we spend our money on the plan via inpatient, outpatient professional services. But if you look down to stop loss payments, last fiscal year at this point we had received $196,000 in stop loss payments. This fiscal year, and this is including pending payments that we haven't received yet, but we're already up to $1.2 million in stop loss reimbursement. So, you know, those claimants, those 35 claimants, have incurred a lot of expenses for the first part of this fiscal year, but now stop loss is covering them for the rest of the fiscal year. So we really project claims to go back down, just like they did last year. And one thing to remember, we've had big years like this in the past, and our claims have always gone down the next year. So that's not always the case, but hopefully it will be. But stop loss is really protecting us a lot for the rest of the fiscal year because they're covering those big claimants. We've paid in about $600,000 in stop loss premiums this fiscal year, and we've already gotten $1.2 million back. It's only 7 months into it. So for the rest of the year, we have a lot of protection from stop loss.
I sure hope that stop loss pool that we're a part of is a huge pool and that the rest of us doing a lot better than we are. Yeah.
Any questions of John? So motion to receive these reports?
Motion.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Danny?
If I can, I neglected to bring up something during the monthly report.
Okay.
Sorry about that, since we're talking about employee claims. One thing I've failed to mention is our workers' comp fund. You know, we are self-insured for workers' comp. To date, our claims, we're down about 41% over the same time last year. Claims are really tracking well. I talked to Dan Matthews this morning. We do have some pending larger claims on the horizon, but we don't think it's going to be enough to throw us off track that much. So with that said, based on what we know so far, we're projecting we're going to end the year with about $600,000 in workers' comp fund. The reason I bring that to your attention is those are potential funds that we could use in the next several months to move to employee benefits fund. Instead of tapping in the general fund reserve, as you know, those of you on the board, we've done this in the past. If workers' comp gets toward the end of the year, we got a little extra money. That's an easy cash transfer from one fund to another. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention while we're still talking about claims.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, I missed the number that's in workers' comp. You tell me.
The estimated number, yeah, we're estimating we're going to end the year with $500,000 to $600,000 in ending cash balance based on our claims paid through January and February.
Thank you.
And hopefully that trend will stay low.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, Cody, the BET report.
Good morning.
Morning.
BET met this past Tuesday, and we added 4 items to the watch list. The court clerk's office and needed a storage solution for themselves and the DA's office. We've put on the watch list $4.5 million. Don't know if they're going to look at a lease or a purchase, so the larger dollar amount was a $4.5 million, so that's what we put on there, so we can be tracking that item. The election board, we added $205,000 on the watch list. They also have an item on today's agenda to actually transfer money, and that is for the special election for the Oklahoma County Sheriff's Office. Juvenile justice, we added an item on the watch list. They also have an item, number 49, that you guys will see later on in your agenda. We added $9,631 on there. They're needing cameras, a notification system, and panic buttons in the courtrooms. So we did add that item. And then the sheriff's office had an item for the inmate medical cap overage. So far, the estimate is roughly $320,000. That's a moving target, and they get new numbers fairly regularly. We'll continue to monitor that throughout the rest of the fiscal year and see kind of where we are here in a couple months. There is one item that the budget evaluation team made a recommendation on for this board, item number 39 on your agenda today. Danny had mentioned it a minute ago, moving $1 million from the general fund reserve to fund employee benefits, what the anticipated shortage is for the next month, and then we'll continue to monitor it month by month, kind of like what we've done in the past.
Questions of Cody? Is there a motion to receive his report?
May I ask a question real quick? My understanding would be that we probably won't spend all that $205,000 for a special election because there'll be other entities on the ballot.
Correct. That's the highest dollar amount that it could possibly cost the county. So we wanted to track that dollar amount just in case. The election board in the past, they've been really good at turning back over money that they don't spend. I think last month, they brought an item back here to get money back over to the to us, and that would be the same case here.
I thought that was only half of the election. Is that not correct? Or
Well,
205 is the full amount of what it would be if that's the only thing on the ballot.
right, and then isn't it another 205
for the general, but that'll be in next fiscal year.
Okay,
Correct.
all right.
And if there are other entities, so the point being, we're going to transfer the whole 205 over to the election board, and then they will reimburse for what they don't use.
If that's what you guys chose to do with their item later on in the agenda, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And by practice, that's what they've done in the past. Just any time, because we've always fully funded as if that's the only thing, as if we're the only ones holding the election that day. And then almost always, there's another entity that we end up getting some money back, and they've done that. Geez, I cannot remember when they haven't done that.
Further questions? If not, is there a motion to receive his report?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item 37, Mr. Hooton.
If the chair would recognize Danny Lambert to discuss this situation.
Okay.
All right, thank you. When Mr. Hooton took office, he inherited 3 special revenue funds with declining fund balances. Our office has seen fund balances for our 3 special revenue funds decline to an all-time low. One of the main reasons for this decline is the previous county clerk made an agreement a couple years ago that our office would pay half of the Tyler Munis contract to the tune of almost $250,000, even though we didn't get any budget to cover that expense. Last year we paid $250,000. This year we're going to have to pay $250,000 again. The Tyler Munis system is a countywide financial system that every department, every one of us uses it. But yet we bear the burden of half of the cost. MIS pays the other half of the cost. Every office uses Tyler Munis to create requisitions to pay your vendors. All of you can go in the system and approve your claims without having to sign endless amounts of paper for approval. Every employee uses Tyler Munis to enter their time instead of preparing spreadsheets and you having to sign spreadsheets. Every employee can use the employee self-service, go into the system, look at their leave balances. They can request time off. They can look at their pay stubs from any month. They can pull up their W-2 from this year, from last year. So we all use it. Each department, each of you can go into the system and look at an invoice, a prior invoice paid by your department, by another department. You can actually go in and pull up a scanned copy of that invoice. These are things that we could not do with our old system, Oracle. So in my mind, just those things I've pointed out, we're kind of light years ahead of where we were with our old system. Before we went to Tyler Munis, the Oracle payment was made strictly by MIS. That was totally budgeted, MIS's budget, and they paid the full cost. So now they're paying half, we're paying half. If you're using true cost accounting, we would allocate the cost of the system proportionately to each office because we all use it. But for ease, I mean, it's just easier to put it in one department, budget it in that one department. I mean, we don't care if it's MIS or you can put it in general government. So in recognition of our declining fund balances and potential shortfall, Mr. Hooten has already eliminated 10 positions in our office. Through that elimination, we are seeing an annualized savings of about $100,000 in our staffing. Even with the reduction of staff, we're still looking at an ending balance of $329,903, and that includes us. We're going to spend every bit of our general fund budget, the $2,869,000. If you would, get a screenshot here. This is just our special revenue funds. We're going to end the year with $329,903. The number that we provided to BET on Tuesday was slightly higher. We had told BET that we would end the year with a balance of $546,303. One thing we failed to factor in was we have an estimated $51,000 coming in unemployment claims that we're going to have to pay this fiscal year. Also, since Tuesday, since our BET meeting, Mr. Hooten has received an estimate from the consultant on the new web page and digitizing our remaining 162 books that are still have not been preserved. So that has lowered our estimate down to the $329,903. That's fine. That ending balance is fine if we were ending business as of June 30th. Unfortunately, the very next day, July 1, we have contracts we have to encumber. In order to encumber contracts, you have to have money in your accounts. We are legally required to encumber $426,758 in contracts July 1. The bulk of that is the Tyler Munis contract and Granicus, which is our real estate software that we use to run our real estate office. We also have other obligations. Those are the legally required. That leaves us with a deficit of $96,855 on what we legally have to encumber day one. Other encumbrances, such as metro parking, those are not contracts, but nevertheless, we have expense in July. We have payroll as well. All total, our contracts, our other encumbrances, our payroll for July, we're looking at $522,502 in obligations in July. That's a deficit of $192,599 from our ending cash balance of $329,000. So at a minimum, and I can show you a quick graph, kind of put the picture of that. The green graph is what we're projecting we're going to end the year with. The middle one is our required encumbrances, our contracts, the 426. You can see we're at a deficit of $96,855. The red bar is all of our encumbrances and our payroll for July encompassing, and that leaves us $192,599 short. So at a minimum, to continue business, we have to have $96,855. If we don't get the funding for the deficit, we're going to have to terminate up to an additional 5 more people from our staff. We don't have any other choice at this point. And we had 4 months to make those cuts, $96,855. So, you know, we have to do that now. Every month we delay it further, that's deeper cuts we have to make. The county currently has in reserve $4,460,193 in general fund reserve. As I mentioned earlier, we have up to $600,000 in workers' comp that could help fund the employee benefits shortfall. Add those two together, that's $5 million. We're asking, on this agenda item, we're asking $250,000 to solve our problem. And that does solve our problems. We just move that money from our budget to MIS's budget, our problem is solved. If we do not get the money, or the commitment today, up to 5 more people will lose their jobs. That's a given. So we are respectfully asking you this morning to transfer the $250,000, and at a bare minimum to transfer enough to cover the $96,855 to address our deficit. And I thank you for your consideration.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question? Danny, I'm a little bothered by your opening comments there that the Munis is a countywide system that you pay for, but that it provides countywide service. Does that make the county clerk's office unique? Don't we have other people other offices who also fund elements of county government that benefit all county? I'll give you an example. Tax bills. I pay 100% of the cost of printing, mailing, receiving, processing tax bills. If I don't do that, there's no general fund. So is that not me paying something out of mine 100% that benefits the entire county, indeed schools and everyone else? Is that not the same thing?
It's really not, because we all use the financial system. I mean, we use it in our day-to-day operations.
And you all use my general fund when I get it collected.
Right.
And it's not my general fund. That's
right.
The point I'm going with.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, that's exactly right. I don't get
Further questions?
May I make a brief comment?
Sure.
Just to be clear with everyone, when I ran for this office, I ran on integrity, modernizing the county clerk's office, improving customer service, and creating convenience and efficiencies and a long-term savings. Our office, when I looked at our office when I was coming in, it was in a chronic deficit situation where it was just spending more money than it had been allocated or budgeted. Was a 50-50 rule in place, a 50-50 law that was to have been adhered to. It absolutely was not. There were 162 books that weren't in the possession of our office that had to legally be in possession, with a bill tagged to them of $623,000, of which I could have brought that into the situation of the audit and made it an embarrassment. I chose not to. The books are residing in this building now. They haven't been digitized, but they do exist here, and the bill for $623,000 has been released, so we are not spending any money for digitizing nor restoring books in museum quality or any other way. But I under all the knowledge I know of business and everything else, I have to be able to operate the business in the black, and I'm not allowed legally to go into the red. Without some help today, we are not going to do that, and short of literally taking the wheels off of my office by letting go of people that we cannot do without, I don't have any way to do that unless you all help me with some resolution. So anyway, that's kind of where we are. So if it's all right, may I make a move?
Sure. May I ask one question of your assistant, Danny? You obviously were the chief deputy for the predecessor, and do you believe that, I mean, if the election had gone the other way and she were here on the commission today, I mean, would she be making this same request? Was this just getting ready to happen?
It was. There was a day of reckoning. We were aware of it. She was aware of it. We knew this moment would come. Yes, sir.
I think it's, for whoever it lands in, who's ever left, I think it's okay because I can handle it and it's all right, and I'll take responsibility for my floor and my office 100%, and I inherited it and I know what I inherited. What I'm asking for is a little leeway of you all helping me out so that I can run my office successfully, and I know I have great confidence in myself and my staff that we will. Now, if I take away a lot of my staff, which I've already let go of 10, it's going to be pretty difficult, and all of us are going to feel the pain, and I don't think that's where you all want me to be. You all really don't wanting me as an asset management person. You don't want me working the front desk out there. I really think that you guys know that that's not where my talents lie, so hopefully you all would consider today. So I'd like to, Mr. Chairman, and fellow board members, I move this body approve effective today Resolution BB 244-17, transfer of general fund appropriations from Reserve 995 to MIS 270 in the amount of $249,438. This transfer is for half of the $498,876 annual cost of the Tyler Munich contract and will provide MIS with the funds to pay for the annual costs and relieve the county clerk the burden of paying half of the cost. Currently, MIS has $249,438 budgeted for half of the total cost.
There's been a motion and a second. I guess what I was getting at is if there was a day of reckoning and we all knew it, why wasn't it on the watch list? I mean, was there just a reason why we didn't signal to the board, hey, in the last half of the fiscal year, we're going to be looking at a major gulp in the throat?
No. We would have, that would have been something we would have addressed going into the 17-18 budget.
Which incidentally, I think is a great approach to take. Address it in the 17-18.
Right.
And absolutely, I would do that if I weren't legally bound to have the certain amount of money encumbered. We can't get to the end of the year. When John Scooter was making a wonderful plea, and I kept asking, are you all bleeding out? Do you have enough cash to finish the year? The answer I got was an answer. Every number we've looked at, and I have really good people looking at these numbers, including myself, is we absolutely don't have enough money to finish the year. That's the problem. And so we can't run the office. We can't get into July 1 because we can't finish June. And that's our situation as we're operating now.
And let's talk the encumbrances, and then I want to come back to your June.
Mm-hmm.
The encumbrances, what fund are you encumbering these contracts out of?
It's a mixture of our UCC fund, our records preservation fund. We have to divide it up because we don't have enough money in our records preservation fund alone. So we're paying a third out of our records preservation fund, a third of the Tyler Munis contract out of our UCC special revenue fund, and a third we're going to have to encumber out of the general fund. And then the Granicus real estate, that's partially out of UCC, partially out of records preservation fund.
Okay. Because, if there's your general fund, you'll be able to encumber 100% because you will have your general fund budget as of 1 July.
That's correct.
We absolutely understand that.
Okay.
Is there further questions?
I've got one.
Yes, ma'am.
I, for one, don't ever want to see anybody in this county lose their job. Having lost my job many times before, I certainly have a lot of empathy and that bit for you. But on the second one, are both of these items necessary, numbers 37 and 38?
if we could take a vote on, if 37 were approved, I'd move to strike item 38. If the chair would want to let me say that out of order.
Sure. Right?
Could I ask Danny a question? I'm sorry, Danny, keep getting you up. But I met, with, several people regarding this projection. And this one shows, as you mentioned, about a $500,000 carryover, and you're saying it's gonna be $329,000.
Yes, sir.
Got that. But you'll finish the year with $329,000, having paid all of your obligations and with your current employees. Is that what you're projecting?
Yes.
Well, on July 1, you're gonna have your next budget available to you, correct?
We will, but we cannot plan with the hopes that we will receive these funds in our budget on July 1.
All the rest of us have to.
We won't know until we do the budget.
It would take an increase in our general fund budget from our current general fund budget level for us to be able to encumber those funds.
Okay, so you make a request for an increase in your general fund budget for next year.
And we absolutely would do that if that were not
Process
approved
every
today.
year.
Right, but we are,
All of us have money, I may end the year with $1,000 in my account. I have a much smaller account than you do. But that's $1,000 is not enough to pay for my July 1, the month of July. I have to rely on the fact that I'll have a budget for July.
Isn't by law, don't I have to have enough money encumbered to move on past to July 1? Don't I have to be able to finish the year in the black? I'm not allowed to finish the year in the red, correct?
Correct.
Meaning,
Correct.
as of July 1, I have to have finished the year with a penny in the bank at least.
But you're projecting you're doing
You're
that.
gonna have $329,000.
That's not the way I'm looking at anything I can see as far as all of our numbers, all of our projections. We will not finish the year. We'll be $96,855 short at the end of the year on July 1. That's my problem.
Then you pay it with the money you get for the July budget.
Is that legal?
but we cannot get a guarantee at this point because we haven't even worked through the 17-18 budget that we're going to have additional funds to be able to encumber that deficit July 1.
4 years ago, from what I understand, or 5 years ago, she had literally large amount of money that she had built up over some years in her special funds. So when she would get to this point, what I would guess is that she would drop everything on her budget down to her special funds to pay for it, which I think if that's the way you play that kind of shell game, that's all right as long as the funds are there. My situation is that all those funds are gone, and I don't have enough to operate to July 1 as far as my understanding is, without alleviating something, meaning either get money or alleviate staff, and I don't want to alleviate any more staff. And I know that this number, it looks like we have a positive balance and that we absolutely, July 1, will go in and start taking money from the next budget year, but that's not the way we're looking at it. And if you all can, I don't understand that. I just can't see it, and we've had everyone look at it, and we're not making up numbers.
For clarity, you've stopped all the preservation of...
Oh, gosh, yes.
There's none.
There's no preservation, there's no digitizing books, nothing, because we don't have the money. I have the books now. They still need to be digitized. We're going to do that next year because the money's not there.
But there are 10 employees on the preservation fund?
There are 10 employees on the UCC fund, yes.
And what do they do if we're not preserving books?
They are updating day-to-day records and going back and going over books that have already supposedly been digitized that are unreadable. And so daily, they literally go back and take the compressed files, which I won't go into a computer thing because all of y'all understand it, But the compressed files, some of them are illegible. There's no way you can read the handwriting, so they have to go back into the books and literally go back in and copy pages. There's 93 million documents that have been restored or that are taken care of in my office. It will take us years to get everything up to where it's readable, which means that we still have at least 162 books that have to be digitized, which we will absolutely do in next year's budget, and I'm not worried about that. What I'm worried about is the staff I have right now are doing cleanup work, and we're not moving forward. What I'm trying to do is take this office forward, and also to create a positive cash flow in that by access to the website, by access to genealogy records, to everything I spoke about yesterday in the meeting, we absolutely I've righted the boat as best I can, and with the help of finishing the year, I think we're going to be all right. But I can't, in good knowledge, finish the year in the red and expect it to be okay on July 1, because May 1st, as far as my numbers go, I start having trouble paying payroll, and by June, I can't pay payroll as far as I understand. So if you guys read the numbers differently, I don't see it, because I've looked at it every way from Sunday.
Thank you for your explanation.
Just one more question, if I could, or comment. I guess it may be a comment as much as a question. As I think members of this board know, I jealously guard that reserve fund, because that reserve fund is there. It's reserved for emergencies that I don't know about, you don't know about. A good example is, and Danny, who does a great job, employee benefits. We took $1 million out of it now. Every time that we take something out of that, we've got to pay employee benefits. We just have to. The second thing I would say is, as I have told the sheriff, a payroll shortage is a May-June shortage. All the more reason to have this reserve fund sitting there in May-June. I would not expect you, I say expect you, I would not want to see an employee lose his or her job today based upon not having the money to pay them in May. That's a long time. We got a chance, and we got time to work with you, just as you have time to work with your own funds. Not to say come May 1, it may even be worse. Bring it back, and I'll tell you right now, you've got my support. If after you've done everything you can do, you still can't get there.
I understand that, and thank you. And I know this body wants to see me succeed in this, because it's kind of like, being against, the captain of the ship. I understand all that, but I in good mind can't keep going forward without doing something, either release from you all or I have to release staff. And the reason that is that window gets shorter and shorter and shorter. So as it stands now, it probably costs me 6 staff to meet 0. If I wait till May 1st or June 1st, I understand it's a game of chicken, and I get it. But realize that as a business person, I can't do that. I would absolutely have to run my office to where I'm going to be in the black in a projection, and I know that it's okay. And I would have to do it that way, just because I won't be able to sleep at night. I mean, and their jobs are really, really important to me. And I take everything with great weight of what I'm doing.
Would any of your new employees be at risk?
Yes. And just so you know, some of the people in this room. So it's not pretty.
You said there were 10 positions already eliminated?
Yes. A net of 6.
A net of 6.
I brought, as everyone knows, I brought on Rick Buchanan, which was raised person. I brought on Duggan and Bolson, and I brought on C.J. Cavan doing our 24/7 internet stuff, which we will get to in about a week if we can keep moving forward.
So there have been 6 positions eliminated
total. Yeah.
Total, not really 10. Okay. Any further questions?
I'd like to ask Danny one more question.
Sure.
Danny, we're going to pay you travel, okay?
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Danny. When one of the contracts, if I heard correctly, and I don't see anything in writing on it, but if I heard correctly, what you said was that July 1, you have to encumber funds for Tyler Munis.
Correct.
Is that the same contract you're asking to get rid of?
Correct. Yeah, that is part of that 426, that middle graph, 426,758. Yes, sir.
Well, why would you project expenditures for Tyler Munis when you don't want to pay it?
When it's gonna be funded out of MIS.
When it's going to be funded out of MIS.
Well, we don't
Write a
know.
new budget.
We don't know that at this point. We have to estimate that that's still going to remain in our budget for next fiscal year. That's a contract we're obligated to encumber July 1 until something changes.
This, similar to the plight the sheriff shared with us a couple of weeks ago. They were going to finish the year with a positive number in their account, but they wanted $1.6 million because they said they needed to encumber the armory contract for next year. Tell me how this is different than that situation.
I'm not going to speak for the sheriff's department, but obviously they have encumbrances July 1, just like every other department has encumbrances July 1. You've got to have the funds available July 1 to be able to encumber those contracts.
And they ultimately agreed those funds would be available in their budget next year.
If we could get a commitment that that Tyler Munis contract, would be paid out of the MIS budget instead of our budget July 1, that would get us to where we need to be. But we're not talking about our fiscal year 17-18 budget right now.
I understand we have a lot of work to do in the budget and getting things changed. All I'm trying to do is finish the year and legally be running my office without doing anything illegal. And that's I'm trying to go by the book. I know that all of these numbers, you can look at them and make them move, and we are absolutely not manipulating things. And I'll also make another comment is that my name's David Hooten and I'm not the sheriff.
Well, I think that the issue about the budget is normally we approve that in mid-May, right? Which
I'm sorry?
we normally approve the next year's budget in
Absolutely.
mid-May, so you have
Absolutely.
confidence for the last at least 45 days of the fiscal year to know what you're facing July 1, to know if there's going to be drastic measures. Not that you would necessarily be expected to know that, but that was not true in 1 year that I've been here. We got kind of towards the end, but normally we're pretty on top of that.
And we're starting a month early this year.
Right. Okay, there's a motion and a second. Are there any other questions? If not, we're prepared to have the vote. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say no. No. Motion fails. Now, item 38.
I move to strike item 38. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Item 39 is the transfer to employee benefits. It's been already mentioned.
Move it.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item 40 is the cash fund appropriations for the employee benefits, $1 million.
Move it.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item 41 is to reallocate the following listed projects with the capital improvements. Is there any discussion on that?
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item 42 is the capital improvements revolving fund. This is for the 9th floor demolition. Any discussion? Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item 43 is the update on the Tyler Munis. Augie?
Good morning, Augie. Hey. We had a class at the districts with the BMI scanners, and they're currently using that to update inventory now, so and they're hitting work orders up and running really good now at districts 1, 2, and 3. So that's moving along great. I'm going to be looking into the applicant tracking process right now, where you could actually use Tyler Munis to put in your application, and then from the application, everything gets transferred into directly into like your employee master and the actions entry and stuff like that. So I'm gonna look into that and see how, if we could use that here at the county and maybe get that up and running too. So that's something that's on my plate right now. So I'm gonna look into that, and there was also a couple other things with the work orders, was modifying a few other reports for techs out of District 1, and that's pretty much what's been going on with Tyler News.
Any questions?
If I may, we get the new website working? Is it coming along?
As far as I know, yeah, that Rachel is kind of working on that, so she's got that pretty much going. So
When do you think it might be ready to roll out?
I could find out. I really don't know. I really don't know about that. So okay.
That's all.
Further questions? Will you please get back to Commissioner Vaughn with that answer?
I will.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, is there a motion to receive Augie's report?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Warren, item 44.
Item 44 is, I am well. We had some of our staff, as many of you have, has been sick quite a bit lately with the flu. So, I was hearing complaints from my staff about their I am well visits. It was taking weeks to get in some cases longer than a week. Prescriptions were not being sent over to the county. I am well was set up to save us money, keep our people safe and healthy. And I felt like I should look into it further, getting all the reports from my staff. So what I did was I called to make an appointment. I got a recording. Didn't get a call back, so I called the second day, same thing. Went to John. I asked John to call. He did. Sent me a text, said call me back. I didn't get a call back. All that being said, I called Dr. Womack and Ann Martin, got a hold of me and told me they'd like to meet with me. They met with me a week ago Friday. They came in. They were very positive. They identified the problem. They agreed that we had a problem, that the kind of service that we had contracted for back when we took this, where we get same-day service or at least within a day, and that our people would be treated the way we expect them to be treated. We set this up to benefit our employees as a benefit. They both assured me, Dr. Womack assured me, that this could be corrected and would be corrected, and I appreciate that. And the reason I left it on the agenda so the rest of you could identify with it and know that it is being looked at. And I asked the doctor if she'd come before us and speak to us.
Doctor?
Yes, I appreciate the honor of being here to address the board here. I brought with us our Chief Operating Officer, Eric Simpson, to address these concerns. We met with Mr. Warren to address those concerns, and there have been some concerns about the ability for the phones to be answered and appointments to be made. And because of that, we have brought, like I said, our Chief Operating Officer and our Director of Clinic Operations over, who have sat in the clinic this week to look at what has exactly been the problem with the answering of the phones, of scheduling the appointments. I actually worked the clinic 2 days last week. We've had providers out sick with the flu. Yes, we get sick too, to make sure that we offer the service that was promised and being paid for by the county. I would like to let Eric Simpson address some of the things that have been put in place already to address your concerns.
Mr. Simpson?
So we did identify an issue that was resolved yesterday related to our telephone system, and it was going to an automatic voicemail if someone was on a line one. So I worked with our IT department, and that's been corrected and taken care of as of yesterday. So that is a non-issue move forward. Now, the high volume of calls, I would say, because we have a lot of flu illness in this region. If you look at the flu map, we are getting inundated with a lot of calls, and we're adding resources to handle those and trying to add blocks of visits to accommodate those, and push out some of the wellness visits and those things a little bit farther out for non-critical things, so we can handle more of those acute visits. So we're working with the staff to accommodate those needs, so we can get you guys in and treated and back out as well. We're additionally adding an on-site operational manager. The talent acquisition folks within our company are looking, and we've identified 3 candidates. So there'll be someone on-site for this market area to address those needs, along with Ann Martin, with our Director of Client Services, to have another level of support for any of our clients to reach to for problem resolution and just onboarding the staff and keeping them moving forward with our vision and model of delivering superior health care.
And I personally, last week, refilled about 45 prescriptions. Went through, found those things where the faxes were, sat down, looked at the chart for those patients, and there are some employees that don't want to come back in when they need to come back in.
Closer to the microphone, please.
That don't want to come back in when they need to come in for blood work, and those kinds of things. And those where they didn't or they were recently seen, had a follow-up appointment, those prescriptions were refilled and will be refilled, as every week I'm checking on that to make sure that those prescriptions are going to get done and no one goes without their medicines. We know there's been a problem. We will fix this problem.
Specifically about the court clerk not getting a return call, what have you identified about that? I mean, that message had to be on some recorder somewhere. I mean...
Yeah, it was stacked up on one of our telephone systems, and we identified, and there were like...
So you did find his message eventually?
Yes. Yes.
One of the issues, and I'm not wanting to throw rocks at you, we've identified the problem. One of the issues was one of my staff 4 days ago told me that she had gone in and she has sugar diabetes and needed her medicine, and it should have been called in to the county pharmacy. And she told me as of yesterday it wasn't. I haven't checked with this morning, and I will take your word that it has been now. But issues like that, and I appreciate you identifying the phones and saying they were fixed, but then I also have some of my staff told me that they were sitting there and the phone was ringing, nobody answering, and they were in the back. The lady came out and answered the phone, and as I pointed out to the doctor, the lady came out and answered the phone. There's 3 or 4 of them, and she told the person on the phone she was the only one there when there was 3 or 4 there, at least 3 she said there. She couldn't see them all because they were behind the wall, but she knew they were back there. Anyway, these are problems. If you guys can fix them, it'd make me very happy. My staff is very important, just like every officer here. Staff's very important to them. And when I go around and hear these stories in the morning, especially when my staff's sick, it's pretty upsetting.
Oh, it is us as well. So, and I say I welcome those issues. I want those coming to Ann, and some come to me directly, because we can't fix what we don't know of. And then I can relay those back, like what we have done, to our on-site management staff to say, hey, we need to make sure these are escalated and resolved efficiently and proactively. Yep.
I'd like to say I appreciate, I've used the service fairly regularly, unfortunately. But I do enjoy...
You're the reason we got to put $1 million in.
That's not coming from ours.
Everybody gets older.
Thank you, Brian.
Oh, you're worth it.
Pretty sure I'm worth it.
Thank you, Brian.
Willis, will you take...
You're doing my job. I appreciate you.
And I also wanted to say, give a shout out to Dr. Shires. I've enjoyed working with her. She's very, very professional.
Thank you for your
Thank you
time.
very much.
Is there a motion to receive the report?
A motion to receive the report.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Item 45 is the capital improvement revolving fund appropriation of $600,000 for PDA reserve.
Mr. Chairman, this is funds that we voted yesterday. The Board of County Commissioners voted to take from the PBA reserve fund and go ahead and appropriate to the balance of our TIF projects that we have identified. We have 8 of those projects, and this will front fund all of those, and ultimately then we will receive reimbursement of all of our expenditures for those accounts and for those projects from the city through the TIF agreement that we have with them. So this is merely to transfer some PBA money to the appropriate places so that we can do those projects and speed those along, and as well as our recovery of those funds.
Question?
Yeah.
Will that money come in a lump sum, or does it come like TIF money coming as it comes in the TIF?
You mean as it's reimbursed?
Yeah.
It'll come back as we complete the project. And we'll submit a claim to the city when the project is complete, and they will refund it. So I move item 45.
Second.
Further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item 46 is the $150,000 for the annex flood for the Zurich Insurance Company. Dan, anything else to say? Just is what it is. It's for the damage from the flood in the annex a few weeks ago.
If I may, Mr. Chair, 46 and 47 are both the same thing, moving it from one fund and then to another.
Correct.
So I would move items 46 and 47.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item 48 is the $33,000, that is the remainder of the $140,000 allocated to the Juvenile Detention Center for fiscal year for the adopted budget, and it was approved by the Budget Board and the Excise Board in June of 2016. It's from Jamie Overstreet. Yes, ma'am? If you'd like to talk to it.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Have we had a chance to beat you up yet?
No, I'm
Oh,
ready.
excellent. All right.
I'm gonna let you win though. 48 and 49 are tied together. The $140,000 last year was set aside to replace all of the detention facility locks. And we have been working all this time trying to get that figured out. We now have what we believe to be the final number from Southern Folger, and it's right at 102. So what we are requesting is that the remaining money that was set aside for us be moved over in the first item, and then the second item to take 10,000 of that and spend it on panic buttons and cameras and systems to make our 5 courtrooms secure. Is there any questions?
So the 10 is included in the 33, did I understand that? Okay. I move item 48. No, I'd rather do item 48 first, because if item 48 doesn't pass, you ain't gonna have to worry about 49.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Move item 49.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Judge, thank you for being here. Sorry, I should have called on you sooner. I apologize for your delay in waiting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted.
Item 50, the amount of money required for the special election for sheriff.
Move to accept.
Second.
Question on that. White, I noticed on the BET that we already talked about a while ago, that was not under recommended funding. Is there a reason? Anybody? Cody? Christie didn't tell me. Yes, you did.
And I believe her.
On the BET agenda, there was an agenda item to place it on the watch list. There was not an agenda item to discuss it as a recommendation. We still had some time, but the election board wanted to go ahead and bring it to you guys now. That's the only reason why it was not discussed as a recommendation for this group.
Move approval. Second. Oh, you already had it, I'm sorry. We already had the motions, I'm sorry.
You got it straight? Who did what?
Yeah, I moved. He second.
Yep.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Board comments, District 1.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I sure hope, Mr. Hooten, you dig way down deep and not have to dismiss some of these people. You may not have ever lost a job. And if you did lose a job, you probably had assets to go ahead and do whatever it is you wanted to do. Or you at least had the opportunity. I've lost jobs without all of the things that I've mentioned to you. And these people are so important to me. So that's all I want to say to you, is that I pray that you don't dismiss these people. I think you can rob Peter, pay Paul, please.
That's not what I was elected to do, though. I was elected to do things by the book.
I understand that, but it's been working.
I don't think so. Otherwise, you wouldn't have me sitting here.
Anyway, that's my
Thank you
prayer,
for your
that all avenues that you can go down to retain these people, I would certainly appreciate it. And how about the Thunder?
Yeah.
We got KD and Russell on the All-Star, team, and that's gonna be fun to watch. I'm finished.
Okay. All right, Mr. Hooton?
No comment.
Mr. Warren? District 3? Treasurer?
No, sir.
Assessor? Any citizens to be heard? Hearing none, any new business? If not, is there? Okay, is there a motion for recessing into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move to defer the item till the next meeting so that John can obtain the information that was requested regarding coverage by Medicaid.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. We're adjourned.